Hey! Welcome to me inn. Ha ha! It looks like the bard is about to begin. I'll pour ya an ale over the stories, fables, and tales about the swords, sickles, and spells in the depths of the swells. So take a listen to the tales that we spin here at the Carriage Rest Inn.
Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Carriage Rest Tales. I'm your host and Dungeon Master, Mike. And to my left, we have...
This is Nick. I play Vato, the half-orc barbarian.
Hey guys, it's Sam, and I play Woods, the Elven Ranger.
Hey everybody, this is Ryan. I am currently playing Kincaid, and this episode is a...
Mailbag!
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. It's been 2 full seasons. We are so excited. So we thought we'd have an official mailbag. We have over 20 questions that listeners submitted, and we thought we would just go around the table with our fearless DM as kind of our moderator. And we're going to kind of chat through the first couple of seasons of Carriage Rest Tales. So we'll let Mike take it away.
I want to say thanks to everybody that sent in questions. We did it a little bit special this time where I reached out and had them actually call me and leave voice messages. So you're actually going to be hearing some of our listeners' voices ask the questions, and then we can answer them. So this first one is from Anne here in Louisville.
Hi guys, this is Anne. I just want to say I'm really enjoying your podcast, and thank you to all of you, and I'm looking forward to listening to this Q&A episode also. So here are my questions. For those of you who have played D&D with other groups of people, how does this compare? What would you say are the biggest differences?
Who wants to go first?
This is actually the only group I've ever played with, so this is not for me. Believe it or not. So,
well, no, you played originally with like John.
Well, yeah, but Mike was
still Dungeon Master.
Yeah, but it wasn't us. Like, it wasn't the three of us.
So Nick is referring to the first time I got into D&D. I was like trying to get into it. It kept falling apart. And I was like, okay, if I actually want to play D&D, I just need to run the game so I can like schedule it, get it completed. But I didn't know who wanted to play. So I was like, all right, I'm going to make a story based off of a city guard where people can just come play, and whoever shows up, that's who is on guard, quote unquote, that day. So I started this session or a campaign. It was like Nick, Ryan, Phil, John. There was, I think, a total of 8.
Yeah.
Kevin, Landon. There was like 8 or 9 people. And like I had about 8 or 9 people. I think the most that ever showed up at one point was like 6 people. It's usually around 2 to 3. I really had to learn how to adjust encounters when I did that, because I was like planning out things for like 5 people and 2 would show up. Like, oh, okay, no, we got to change this up a little bit. So that was kind of fun from a DM style, but that was the first time we started playing together.
Yeah, that was actually my first time ever playing. So it was, for me, it was like learning, like, how to run a character and, just learning how to play D&D, and then...
Yeah, we figured out who was actually showing up, wanting to play every turn, and it was you and Ryan and our buddy Sam, who doesn't play with us anymore, but he was the 3 that never missed a session. So we're like, oh, these guys like it. Let's use this group.
Yeah.
I have played a bunch, especially if you listen to our one-shots. We have an opportunity. I get to kind of play a lot of D&D with different groups, and I love... There are special things about all the groups I get to play with. Katie and AJ, I love playing with them. Bella and Eliza is so fun. Playing with Shannon, like, she's so new to the game. But there's something very special about playing with the 2 of you, or I guess the 3 of you.
You got to Mike in there.
You're like my permanent DM.
Forever DM, yep.
Yeah, so I just feel like there's something like so special about playing with you guys. It clicks. I think we're all at the same level, right? So... And I think we've played so much together that we just like kind of can gauge where each other are going with stuff. And I absolutely love it.
Well, Mike, you and I did a campaign with some of our Mercer people.
Yep.
It was kind of short-lived, but it was fun. Those group of guys were fun to play with.
Yeah, and then you ran a campaign for me, your dad, and I think it was Zach.
And was Corey in?
No,
Zach
Corey
was
wasn't the one your dad ran.
Yeah. I got way over my head.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to do that with Shannon, so bear with me.
I still remember that because it was you got to a point where you had to siege a castle, and then I don't think you knew how to go from that, so we literally never met again.
Nope, I just pulled the plug.
Figure it out.
That's power being
That's
the DM.
what you got to do. 3 months later.
Y'all didn't know this. Y'all just died.
We sieged the
died.
castle
You
and died.
didn't know
You
it.
didn't make it.
But I think it's so funny because I remember when we started playing in our first campaign, the one we didn't record, and we got to a spot where you got to a castle that was under siege. And I just see Ryan like, what are you doing? I was like, it just happened.
How are you going to pull this off? And he did it. He pulled it off.
That's why he's the forever DM.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I'm trying.
Now that I remember, like, it was me, you, Ryan, and not Sam.
The other
but
Sam.
The
Yeah.
other Sam. And there's like one point where like we got separated and you're trying to get Sam to come back.
Oh,
And he
Yeah,
did.
the
And
other
for
Sam.
some reason,
The other Sam,
it
yeah.
just,
Yeah.
he
Never
never
happened.
came
And that's
back.
why I came in.
yep. And that's when Sam came in, yep.
And then you guys
Different
couldn't
Sam.
shake me.
Yep.
Well, and then Sean used to play with us too. That's
Yep.
how we originally started. And I do love playing with Sean. Sean's so great. He's
Oh, you
so fun.
DM'd that one, right?
I did DM. Oh yeah. Oh, I hate DMing. You guys probably, if you listened to the Christmas episode, you probably felt how much I hated DMing. But anyway.
So if people have listened to the one-shots, Sean played in a one-shot with my brother.
Oh yeah.
And it was super funny because Sean likes to be out there with his characters. So we're playing in this one-shot, and he's like, oh, it's so nice to just play like a normal character for once. His character was literally a dog in a suit of armor.
Chihuahua too, like a little
How is
tiny
this a
dog
normal
just
character,
sitting in
Sean?
the helmet.
Pocket
I
knife.
love Sean. We have to get Sean to like fifth mic in one of our
sessions.
like
yeah.
just
Definitely.
run an NPC or something, or
Definitely.
just be
Yeah.
an NPC. We should totally do that. We play, the four of us play well together. Yeah.
Alrighty.
I want to play bards with your cousin AJ.
Yeah.
We're just two bards.
Needs to happen.
Music references
Like
galore.
twins.
Yeah, twin
Yeah.
bards.
All right, let's hear from Brandon in Chicago.
Hi, this is Brandon calling in from Chicago, Illinois. I have a couple questions. First one is in regards to Kincaid. It is referenced that his age is thousands of years old. My question is, if he is that old, why does he only have 36 hit points instead of a lot more than that? And then also, wouldn't he be a much higher level in terms of sorcery? Second question is in regards to Woods. So when her patron Lucha takes possession of her and she's in goddess form, I picture that much like Moon Knight when his patron takes control of his body. Is it far-fetched to think that once she gains better control of this ability, would she become invulnerable, or would she take on additional powers, or is it just what is happening right now is going to be the full extent of her goddess abilities? Thanks.
So Kincaid, why do you only have 36 hit
That is
points?
such a good question.
I mean, you said to roll up a level 6 character,
Yeah.
and sorcerers only have like a D8 hit die, so
I feel like I would assume, because you just realized that you were
I didn't
that
really,
old.
Yeah, I didn't know I was that old. I didn't know I was really a general either. So yeah, I think Kincaid should have been a little bit more tanky,
Yeah.
a lot more hit points, a lot more spells. We just redo season 2.
Redo season 2?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to be more powerful.
I picture Kincaid like jumping back on Captain Brandon's boat, just with so much more confidence and just being this like massive tank now, and just knowing like all the wisdom comes like flying back into his head.
Do you have any thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, so you were stuck in that time warp, or right?
Yeah.
Space, so maybe that had something to do with
So
it.
maybe my cellular age was
Yeah.
1,000, so I was like
Maybe you're-
Wolverine, where I was
you're
losing my
froze-
healing power after so long. I was
Right.
really just like
You're
getting
like-
weak and brittle.
Cryogenically frozen in time.
Yeah.
Yep. So
You're
that's
hibernating.
Yeah, so that's kind of the storyline of how it worked out. So yes, he's thousands of years old, but for the majority of that time, he was in this stasis, which I tried to allude to when you guys had that shared memory flashback, when you guys touch each other and you started
yeah.
seeing each other's memories. And I tried to mention multiple times that you were seeing this two worlds kind of floating in the distance, but you couldn't get to it. And the idea was that for thousands of years, Kincaid was really being tormented because he couldn't leave, but he couldn't do anything.
Gotcha.
He wasn't getting older. He didn't have to breathe. He was just kind of in this stasis of what I would have pictured just being absolutely terrifying and horrible. Yeah. So he kind of blocked out all of his memories, which is why you didn't remember you were a general, didn't remember the life before, because you're just kind of emotionally traumatized.
That makes sense. I think I played that really well.
You crushed it.
Yeah,
you crushed it like you had no idea. Yeah, that was like super metagaming there. Like you crushed it.
Really wrote all that up, and he's just, I'll pretend.
Yeah,
What? Okay, so Brandon, I would absolutely love it if Woods can officially turn into her deity and be Lucha. However, I know our forever DM, and that is not going to happen. So I think that Woods' journey with Lucha is going to be very interesting in season 3 when we get to it. There's a couple of things planned. If you caught on to some of her affirmations, she alluded to what's going to look like in season 3. But no, I don't think she's going to fully turn into her deity. I think it's more so she's going to try to learn how to harvest the power that the deity kind of sponsors her with. Good question, though.
I do like that question. I also like that I have ideas and thoughts of where it's going to go, but I can't tell the players because I don't want to spoil anything.
And I also feel like come season 4, I'm going to have like no superpower. Like, I'm just going to be stripped of all things.
You can tell me. I just established I'd play not knowing very well.
It's like a vault.
Alrighty. Next question is from Lynn.
This is for the player characters, the players. How do you feel like your characters have evolved over the course of the 2 seasons?
Well, I've played 2 characters, so I don't have much of an evolution. But
so funny.
I will be interested in Nomis's development in season 3. So I'll answer that question at the end of season 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been kind of a roller coaster for my character because, in season 1, he was like, happy to be part of the order, like a upstanding member of the order. And then at the end of it, he betrayed the order. And yeah, all season 2, he's been on the run. Just kind of upside down world for him. So just dealing with that and
no hand.
Yeah, no hand.
You lost
got
a
his
hand.
arm cut off.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to learn how to open a rift, which if you go back to season 1, Basto, he would no.
Yeah.
Or even early season 2, like he wouldn't think of doing that. So
I feel like we're persuading you.
Yeah.
I feel like we're corrupting you, really, is what happened.
I feel like Woods is corrupting you.
Woods is corrupting you.
Yeah, Woods is corrupting me because Nomis has been gone.
Yeah.
See what happens when Nomis leaves?
See? Yeah, I think Woods, there's a lot going on with Woods in her mind. Like, she still goes back and thinks about that weird dream that she had when she was like crawling towards a baby of herself. So that still kind of sits in the back of her mind. And she has been confused from the beginning. So even when she was at the Delray Sanctuary, worshiping Sopalor, the god of sun, and then Lucha, the moon maiden, comes to her. So that's the reason that she's at the order. So she's just been confused the entire time. But I think her relationship is really growing with the moon maiden. And she's going to be a paladin for her. That's what's going to happen in season 3. So, and I think her relationship with Vaso is really growing. They bicker like brothers and sister, which I like.
Yeah, we fight a lot.
We fight a lot, but she's really sad. Like, especially after I just re-listened to the last episode, and like she's really sad, which is funny because we were talking about this before we started recording tonight. Nick goes, Sam, I'm not mad at you, right? I go, I know, but like, feels that way. So yeah, I think we've all had really good growth. Even like Kincaid, though, I feel like we corrupted Kincaid. Like, he was very much mission critical. We're going to do this. And we're like, yeah, but come over here and let's do this instead.
You are a corrupter, I guess.
Well,
I
someone's
blame
got to do
Woods.
it.
We always blame Woods.
We always blame Woods.
All right. So with that, I'm going to feed into Dan's question because Sam kind of touched on something that he had a question about.
Hi, I have a question for each of you, actually. For Ryan, where do you think Kincaid has been for the last several centuries? And do you think he was more powerful before he disappeared? For Sam, what do you think is the meaning of the vision that Woods had of her being a baby crawling in the forest? For Nick, why do you think Vaso gets angry when he's in or near Dorma? And for Mike, a general D&D mechanics question, actually. Can you explain what cantrips are and how they're different from other spells? Thanks a lot.
Great audio, Dan. I don't know where you called in from, but that was top
awesome.
notch.
Yeah.
Let's start with Vaso. We're going to do reverse order, kind of.
Okay. Yeah, so I believe Vaso gets angry when he gets close to like Dorma, because I think it's has to do with like the two souls. Like you got the one guy on the one side and the other guy on the other side, and it's just sort of like a reaction. So like if Vasto's shadow person were to try to come over to the light side, the same thing would happen to him. You know, it's sort of like a reaction thing. That's my theory. Because I know
My soul's full.
with Woods, I believe Woods is combined.
Yep.
And you so you're happier, or
Yeah, so
are you basically the same?
I'm content on both sides.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little bit more happy when I'm in Dorma. It's just a warm, cozy feeling,
Yeah.
which I guess segues into my question from Dan. So Woods as a character and Sam as a player thinks about that often, that dream of the babies drawing towards each other. And you guys haven't noticed, I'm not the best at putting pieces together. It takes me a really long time. You don't even like listen to the conversations I have with the guys outside, and then also the conversations I have with Mike, but like, wait, hold on, what's happening? So I've pieced it together that my soul has been merged, right? So when I die, I actually die. This is what Woods thinks. When she dies, she actually dies. There's no shards. So she thinks that her two souls have been merged. I think that dream wasn't a dream. I guess Woods thinks that the baby, it happened when they were a baby. So I think her souls were merged, and I think that was actually something real that happened. It's a memory and not a dream. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I was wondering that too. Like,
Yeah, 'cause,
was it your Ivana side trying to find your Dorma side? But
Yep.
we established, I guess you've already had a possible merger. So
Yeah, and I
that
think
makes sense.
I think sometimes because Woods likes Dorma so much that the vision I saw, like the baby I saw coming towards me, was actually the Ivana, and I have always been like the Dorma side.
Because didn't you always feel at peace when we went to Dorma?
Yeah, so
that
I
makes
think
sense.
I don't know if it's a complete 50-50, but if it's not, I think Woods is more towards the Dorma side, has more Dorma in her than other.
So you think that your original state was on the Dorma side?
Yeah, I think my original state was on the Dorma side because I was a baby, and then I was at the Del Rey Sanctuary. So I don't know, like, she's starting to think like, are her parents, like, how did she get there? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of personal questions that kind of come to mind. So maybe we can play that out in one of the seasons.
Yeah, so Dan, for your question, when I did Kincaid's backstory, you know, his dad was a general, like a fighter type, and his mom was a magic user. So Kincaid had trained in both areas, but always gravitated more towards spell casting. And then we learned that Kincaid was actually a general, and then through a flashback, had a memory of working with the Harbinger of Creation to fight and destroy the chaotic god. So yes, I do think Kincaid was definitely stronger before the, what do we call it? The void.
Yeah, where he got all of his emotional trauma.
His emotional trauma. So I think during that stasis of centuries, I think maybe he forgot maybe a lot of his own power, and maybe that's why he woke up feeling maybe weaker. He just didn't have the memories that he had of the full memories, I guess, of his full potential.
And I imagine as a magic caster, your memories, your practice is probably really built into your strength. Like knowing how to cast it, how to tap into that font of energy. So Dan, dealing with cantrips then, so the way D&D works is everybody knows you can like swing a sword, and barbarians can have battle axes, rogues have daggers, and they can each round kind of like stab somebody and deal 1d6 damage. when you're dealing with the spell caster, you're always thinking like, oh, they're casting these big mega spells, but they can only do it a handful of times. So they need something that they're going to do, but they're not going to be frontline fighters. So D&D has the cantrip mechanic, which is kind of where that dagger poke is coming in from. So they have a small spell that they can cast that doesn't use much energy, and they can do that as many times as they want, because that's the same as the rogue stabbing somebody as many times as they want.
So like Kincaid, one of his cantrips was Firebolt. And when you're a low-level magic user, I think the damage was like 1d10. But when you progress levels, the damage gets greater and greater. But he also had spells like Lightning Bolt and Tidal Wave that were larger spells that Mike were talking about and actually counted towards his magic stamina, I guess, if you want to call that. Yeah.
So that's kind of what cantrips are there for, so that they can have their low-level attack or their low-level defense that they would inherently know that's not going to exhaust them. Kind of like a rogue can stab over and over again and not exhaust themselves, but if they're going to try to do some crazy feat, they're going to get tired. That's kind of the big spells, or that crazy feat.
It also gives them something to do when they run out of spell slots.
Yeah.
Like, because I can't.
So they're not useless.
Yeah, I can run out of bows, but like unless you lose your sword, you can't really run out of sword stabs.
Or hand.
Or get your arm cut off.
I mean, I guess unless you, R.I.P. righty.
I still love my little Easter egg. That was my favorite title so far.
Oh yeah.
After Vasa got his left arm chopped off, the title of that one is Vasa was all right.
Like ALL space RIGHT. He for days he talked about it.
I know. I was so excited about that one.
I know how it feels when I make a joke. And I'm like, hey, you remember that?
I don't get as many as you.
That's the only reason why you cut his arm off. So you
Only reason.
Yes.
I need a strong title for this episode.
I really can't wait for Nomus to notice that you only have one hand.
Or that you're bald and
oh yeah, that I'm bald. Yeah.
And I got a beard.
He's like, who's that?
Yeah. Oh, I miss my hair.
All right. This next one is a question from Sue.
Hi, Mike. This is one of your listeners. My name is Sue, and I'm kind of one of the older listeners. I had my children suggested I start listening to podcasts, and they suggested yours. So I started listening and sort of got hooked on it, and I'm enjoying it and following the adventures. My question is, where do you draw your storylines from? Is it from the news? Is it from past experience? Books? What causes the story to start taking place in your mind, and then on paper, and then on the radio, on your podcast? Thank you. I'd love the opportunity of being able to express this and talk to you about it. So thank you for giving us all the opportunity to get into your mailbag. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So I was going to start with this one about inspiration of story stuff. I typically pull a lot of my storylines from a variety of places, but mostly movies, anime, and books. And I'll kind of pull pieces from here and there. So it's not like I'm not running a whole anime storyline, but I'm like, oh, I really liked that little piece from this one. I like this from this book. Like the first campaign I ever did for these guys was based off of the Uphewn Throne series, which I really enjoyed reading by Brian Staley. And I was like, oh, that was a really cool, they kind of did. So I pulled little pieces from it. This one's a combination of a bunch of different animes that I've thrown together. And then actually the yin yang from Taoism I brought in because I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Light and darkness, good and bad. I was like, that'd be kind of fun to play around with inside of a world. So
I also think you're just really creative.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
But I do want to have you guys answer this question for how you come up with your characters. Because you guys come up with some really awesome
We do.
stories,
As Sam leans
backstories.
back in her chair.
So where do you pull your inspiration from?
Well, so my character, if this is Nick speaking, I play Vaso.
Wait, what?
What?
I'm sorry, your voice is not so distinct.
I know, I'm sorry. Okay, so for my characters, like I'm a pretty introverted guy, so I tend to mirror that in my characters. You know, Vaso, and even my character before this was, the big, strong guy, but like not a lot of words. Like he'll talk, but not, crazy amount of words. So
not particularly loquacious.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam's looking at me, so I guess I'm answering.
You're next, yeah.
I'm a big music fan, so a lot of my characters get inspiration from, I guess, past and current musicians. I did one character that was purely like grunge based. He had grunge member band names. And
I loved him.
His name was Staley,
Staley,
after
yeah.
Alice in Chains lead singer, and his backstory was like a character named Cantrell helped him do something, and then he had Scott Weiland helping him do something. So I gained a lot of draw from musical,
Music, yeah.
and then Nomis, of course, was a bard, and kind of went 180 on him and drew inspiration from Harry Styles of all people, with just his like his clothing, and it's just kind of like I don't
and
know.
your cat. And Simon.
And my cat, yeah. Well, yeah. So Nomis is Simon backwards, and I had Simon for 18 years, so kind of drew inspiration from that too.
I actually start with a name first. That's how I built every single one of my characters. Is I start thinking of like a cool name. So we'll start with Woods. So Woods is actually officially named Melwood, which is actually an exit on 64 in Louisville, which a character before this in our practice campaign, I named Grinstead. For my job, I do a lot of driving, and I just like the name Grinstead. So anyway, so that was for the practice campaign, and then for this one, I was like, oh, Melwood, that would be fun. And then I kind of I build it off of that, you know, so Woods, like she's in a forest and like has a lot of like naturey things with her. But then I also just draw on like my own personality. Like it's hard for me to play introverted characters because I'm just not introverted. We might see that coming soon, but I like to work out. So I try to pull on things I know, because then it's easy to play the character when you know, like I'm into snacking, I'm into working out. Like, so it's just easy it's hard to make stuff up that you're not familiar with.
So is your next character going to be like Shelbyville, Zorn, or
Zorn.
Story Avenue?
Shelby, Hersport, Blankenbaker.
This is Blankenbaker.
Gene Schneider.
That would be like good for you
Gene
though. Gene Good old this is.
This is Jane?
Ooh. But I
That's
do
a good-
think
that's a
I
good
like
name.
I do like Watterson though. Come
Watterson.
on, for a surname. Oh, Watterson the Druid. Oh, that'd be a great Druid
That would
character.
be good. Thanks, Louisville, for inspiring
Yeah,
us on our
thanks.
characters.
That's where Sam gets hers from. All right. Now let's jump over to a question from Ray.
Hi, I was wondering if each player could talk about either an NPC or a situation that they are currently suspicious of. Thanks.
Everyone, everything.
I didn't build a lot of trust in this world for you guys, I feel like.
I have one. I honestly sometimes wonder if we are on the wrong side. Like it's not an NPC, or it's literally our entire existence. Like I wonder, are we actually the bad guys in this? Are we stopping Benson in the order from like doing the good, and like our souls supposed to be merged? Like sometimes I wonder, like, are we going to find out that we're the bad people?
I've been feeling that same thing, especially in season 2. Like as we kind of learn about like the merging, like, you know, just questioning, like maybe not suspicious, but like questioning, like what does all this really mean? Like what's really going on here? So I think questioning like the order, and then like what's going on. Like it's just the whole thing. Like I don't know, I'm rambling on here, but yeah.
In Nomis's single episode, he got very suspicious of Damien, just looking at all the experiments, and actually was very suspicious of Woods from
Oh yeah, I remember that.
what he saw in there, but never really got to carry it out. So I think I would agree with Nick and Sam about being suspicious of the Order, and I kind of carried that over to Kincaid, who I'm sure y'all know loved the Order of Light.
Yeah.
So
The torches?
yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's a specific NPC where I was just like, I don't believe. Also, there's a small part of me that Amelia, like I love Amelia, and Mike like puts Amelia up on this little pedestal. It's one of Mike's favorite characters. So I definitely think we're going to see her in the future. And I think something big's going to happen there. I don't know what side of all this she's going to be on.
And so for Vaso himself, you know, he had that bad experience on the Dorma side. So, he doesn't like that side.
Yeah.
He saw the monster and
the colossal.
And he saw the other guy on the other side.
Hex, I think was his name.
Hex.
I need to re-listen to your episode because I listened to it when I was having dental work done, and I was getting some nitrous oxide.
So you were like really high.
Yeah, I was like, it was like a dental cprocedure or whatever. So they were like, "Oh, you listened to her run?" I was like, "Perfect, I'll listen to next episode." I remember slices of it, so I think I should listen to both of your character episodes.
I'm a little sus, as they say now, of Betsy. I don't think she's running that entire store of Hobbits on beef leather. I think she's got a front for something.
I
think she's got a little
shard
side
laundering
gig.
or something like that. Like something.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a cool backstory.
Yeah, because it was pretty gross.
There's Betsy and Betty.
Yep.
See, they're in cahoots with something.
I think there's something on there.
It's a little sus.
No, I.
They have a multi-city chain.
Yeah,
they
it's
also
a pyramid
have-
scheme.
yeah,
Something's happening there. That's a really good question.
Alrighty, this one is coming from Jeff.
Hey, Mike. I just wanted to ask you a question in regards to the podcast. How did it feel moving your D&D table from a small private setting group to being and hosting a podcast? Please let me know. Thank you.
So what was it like going from a private table to a public space?
Sometimes I forget that other people listen to us.
I think at first we were like, or at least for me, I was like, oh my God, everybody's listening. But as we did a couple of episodes, I kind of put that out of my head, and now we're just we just do our thing. We just do our thing, and we just kind of don't even think about it.
Well, it was also nerve-wracking because we had headphones on, and then we got mics in front of us.
Yeah.
Recording everything, then going back and listening to it, you're like, oh man, that's what I sound like playing D&D.
I definitely hated listening to myself the first few times I was editing. I was like, this is horrible. I should not be editing.
But I think the most weird thing, it was fun but weird, was doing our live session.
Oh yeah.
And Mike throwing all those puzzles at us.
Oh my gosh, we never do puzzles.
So now not only am I being recorded, but now I have people watching me trying to solve puzzles,
Live.
and that did not jive well at all for me.
Really?
And I think I missed a lot of the story that day because I was like, this is too much.
No, it's probably
it was sensory overload.
Got some post-traumatic to go listen to it afterwards.
Yeah, we're in this massive room with these people, and then
watching me no, don't watch me.
Normally we would figure those puzzles out.
I mean, you two would, not me.
But I was just oh my God, there's so much going on here.
Yeah.
It
was such a fun experience.
It was fun. I'm not saying it was.
But yeah, that
had
was
a good
different.
time. But
I like that. It totally forced us to do theater of the mind, and we no longer have a map and minis, and we no longer move things. I think we also spend less time on tactical. I'm gonna move 15 spaces here and do this and do that. And we try to describe more what we're doing, which I really like.
Yeah, I like that it forces, because we used to play with the battle map and miniatures. I'd print out little monsters on binder clips and move them around. And it was fun. That is a fun way to play D&D, but I definitely enjoy the theater of the mind. It's a little bit faster pace.
Yeah.
I also don't have to keep standing up and sitting down, which I enjoy. So
this is very much more story oriented versus just we have fun playing D&D when we used to do it, but I feel like we're trying to progress the story and situation and not
more improv too. I feel like. Yeah.
Exactly.
That was a good question. Thanks,
Yeah,
Jeff.
awesome question.
all right, now let's jump back to Anne.
Do you have a favorite moment from the show overall, and or do you have a favorite moment from season 1 and season 2? And is there anything that really threw you for a loop?
One of my favorite ones was we were riding the chapakas.
Oh.
I was like, I can't ride a chalupa.
Oh, I love that.
Funny.
That was really funny.
Not everyone can ride a chalupa.
Not everyone can ride a chalupa.
Season 1, I liked when we did that Iron Chef cook-off thing, and I was like, the chicken's naked, and I just that was really fun for me because I'm like to cook it. So playing somebody who has no clue how to cook, that was a lot of fun.
That was pretty funny. I remember that because I was like, how is Sam acting this out? Because she knows how to do all of this. And she's pretending she doesn't. And she's doing so well at it.
I liked when we all decided to sneak out to go to the bar.
Oh, Heaven's Club Brewery?
Wallace was actually trying to convince us to sneak out because his friend was there.
Yeah.
So we snuck out, and then Nomus, being Nomus, decided he was going to get up on stage and sing.
Lois
And we got busted.
Only to find that Damien was there.
Benson. Oh, Damien was there and
Yeah,
Benson was
yeah,
there.
and then we got busted, and yeah.
Yeah, that was funny because like there was pictures of Benson on the walls.
Right. And I
and,
was
like,
I think I was singing.
and then they're like, "Oh, that's Benson with the owner," and you're like, "I'm gonna go sing."
Yeah. I think it was like Great Balls of Fire or something. Yeah.
Because you're trying to wingman Wallace with Foberto.
Yeah.
Yep. I was just trying to help an elephant out, you know.
I guess season 2. I guess I have 2 things. So season 2, I like this whole deity thing that Woods is going through. It's so cool to just play and be able to do that and to work for, like, it's hard to do and I have to work for it. And I like the character growth that's happening there. But I also love when Woods and Vaso get in a fight. Like, it's my favorite thing. Role playing, like yelling and screaming and fighting with you is so fun. Like, I don't know how I think we just feed off each other really well. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yep.
I also love when Ryan Kincaid Kings like they're still arguing.
Or I just
He's
leave.
always like, I hate it. He's always like, I hate it when mom and dad fight.
Yeah. Come on, Mom. I'm
Yep.
done. You guys have any season 2 call outs, favorite moments?
Or anything that threw you for a loop that you weren't expecting.
Oh, I got my arm cut off.
Yeah, I feel.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like, so he can't.
Same
So he goes
episode.
from this big guy who handles this big 2-handed axe to, he has to be an elegant swordsman.
Yeah, finesse.
Yeah. So he has to adjust, and that's a curveball for him.
I just love how that was the first episode where I was like, I'm going to start doing this D100
Yeah.
for severity.
Oh, yeah.
First episode I decided to do that, and you're like, I rolled a crit fail. I'm like, awesome. I rolled a 2. Like, okay.
Yeah. Wasn't it 5? Wasn't it 5?
I thought it was a 2.
It was a 2.
It
Yeah.
was. Oh, I thought it was a 5 for some reason.
It was a
I was like,
2.
well, here we go.
I kind of liked in season 2, the last episode, we spent all that time trying to plan how we were going to get Nomus, and finally we were like, we're good
Screw
at
it.
chaos.
Yeah.
Let's just go in
Let's
there
just- let's just
and
blow
mess things
crap
up.
up,
And then all 3 of us just went in and just messed things up in our own way. And
Then you died. Nomus went down. You also almost went down. We all almost died in that episode.
Look, I'm 2,000 years old with only 36 hit points, so it was bound to happen.
I feel like those are the crustiest hit points ever,
Oh!
too. It was like,
Someone stepped on my heel. I went down.
I got a scab flaking off my skin.
The favorite part about that episode for me, though, was hearing you guys plan and knowing, because I designed it, that there was a very easy solution that you guys didn't think of. And I
What
still
was
don't
the
think you guys
solution?
have it figured out yet. When you were on the boat, you asked if you could stick your head out into Dorma.
Uh-huh.
I was like, yeah, you can, but the rift is going to be up in the air.
Oh, poop. We could have just grabbed him.
You could have sailed the boat on the Ivana side over the water to where the platform was, opened a rift on the top of your ship, and just like
Snatch and grab.
snatched and grabbed him. You would have had to outrun pirates, but I was like, I
Well,
really
he was
hope-
locked up, wasn't he? He had
Yeah,
the
he
key. We would have gotten it from the...
You could have like just jumped right down in the middle of the table. I was like, I hope they don't do this because I don't know how I'd react to it, but this was a possibility.
Wait, we knew we could do that. We just wanted to build a better story.
Yeah, you
and
wanted to
make
build a
it
better
entertaining.
story.
We
Told
just
you I'm
wanted
good
to
at,
blow,
like,
we just
plain
wanted to
ignorant.
blow stuff up.
Yeah, you wanted to blow it up
We just wanted to spend 2 episodes planning.
because you guys are the good guys.
We're the good, air quote, good guys.
Duh.
Mike, do you have any favorite scenes or aha moments or things?
I should have thought of one. I
Also got a girlfriend.
Vaso got a girlfriend, which was
Vaso?
hilarious.
You
Was
inspired
that
one of our t-shirts.
foreshadowing or, I mean, I feel like that was foreshadowing.
The shell phone landed really well, and I thought that was hilarious.
Horizon.
Horizon
Oh.
And you
Mobile.
guys just went with it.
Yeah.
The
So-
T-shirt came out so well.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite things from season 2. It was just like, I think this would be funny, and it landed so well. And then you guys just went with it, adding horizons, and then how many sandbars do you have? Like, oh man, like you guys are doing awesome. So that was one of my favorites. Season 1, I really, really like how Nomus got a bunch of information on his tour on his solo episode. And then Ryan played it really well, or he was suspicious of both of you guys and like didn't really talk to you, and then he disappeared. Like I was like, okay, I guess I'm not introducing this. And you guys have done a really good job.
You wouldn't talk to me.
Yeah, you came
That's
looking
right.
for me because you were
great.
gone, right? We were
you
trying
guys
to find you.
Yeah, you guys were trying to find me.
And you came and knocked on my door, and I was like,
Season 3 is going to be great. You're suspicious of me, and you're pissed off at me. Oh, yay.
What a great start.
Yay.
That's just every episode.
Oh, and I remember season 2, we were saving that boat that was sinking. Or it was
the coffee shit?
Yeah. And there was that band on the
that was
on
the
the
cruise
boat,
ship.
and I was like, and I think I met Nomus's dad.
Oh, that was the cruise. Yeah. That wasn't the coffee thing. That was the cruise ship. You met Nomus's dad.
It was a random encounter before
and then
that.
you just
and I'm like,
verbal diarrhea.
Yeah, verbal diarrhea.
Your son's missing.
But it's fine.
Yeah, I'm his friend. You know, we used to be in the order until I backstabbed him, and
We all went AWOL.
So,
That was so funny. The best part was it's happening, and Ryan and I are looking at each other with like cartoon eyes. Like, what is he doing?
So fast forwarding, that is the reason I had Captain Brandon get captured. It was because he was then made aware that Captain Brandon was escorting you guys.
Oh, way to go,
Oh,
Nick.
wow. Wow. Well,
Yep.
So that was kind of a fun, I can use this now.
consequences.
yeah,
Of
but
our
the
actions.
characters don't know
The
that.
characters don't know that at all, no.
That's cool to know. Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you. That's what I love about D&D is I have main story points, high level points, and then you guys fill in the details of all sorts of stuff that I can pull from. So I guess going back to the inspiration, a lot of it's from what my players do.
Glad we can help. Yeah, because you'll take stuff from our backstory and introduce it. I'm like, I don't remember exactly where I was going with
who
that.
is this person? Mike's like, you wrote 4 pages about them. Oh, yeah. Let me pull
I
that
did,
up.
didn't I?
Yeah, and pulling from the backstories, we met Vaso everybody met Vaso's dad.
Didn't know his name.
I did find it out, by the way.
But yeah, in my backstory, I said that he was nonviolent, and once we met him, we found out more why he used to be into order, and now he wanted to step away from that because he found out what the order was all about and why he's more peaceful. So just drawing from backstories and
And Mike, you do that very well.
Yeah, you do a really good job of that.
You incorporate it really well.
I think this will feed in great to Michael's question.
This is Michael. I've been listening to your show since I think the very beginning, and something I've really noticed over time is how well you build long-term character arcs. I think we've seen some that stretch across multiple seasons, and it's something that I'd like to do a better job of imitating at my own table. And so my question is, how do you go about doing that? What is your process for both building a character and then working together with your dungeon master to write, without spoiling it, a long-term story that you can collaborate on together and that has enough blank spaces for you to fill in the future? Anyway, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed all the hours I spent listening to you and all the laughs you've given us.
I mean, I think it first starts at the beginning when we start. Mike asks us to make a backstory and not just a paragraph. I think my backstory for this character is 6 or 7 pages, and there's some dialogue in there between some NPCs in my world, and he goes as far as to say, okay, where are you from? Explain your city, explain what you do. So there's a lot of stuff, but then there's also, I think we as players do a good job of leaving some plot hooks in there where hey, I'm just going to throw this out here. I don't know what that backstory looks like. I don't know what happened before, but it's a good spot for Mike to come in and be like, hey, we can build off of this moving forward. So I think it really started with our backstories.
Yeah, and I think before that, we have a general understanding of what the world is and kind of kind of set those parameters, what to expect, but then it allows us to kind of just we just build off of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do a really good job of giving us an actual world map, especially in this campaign. here's the world, here's every city. This is what they're known for, the type of like race that lives there, what their exports are, what their industry is. So then we get to pick where we come from in that world. So I think you do a really good job like laying it all out in the beginning.
Yeah, I think I'll piggyback what Sam said. Like, you do a really good job of taking stuff in our backstory and using it. So it's fun to write a backstory and figuring out what ammo can I give Mike.
Yeah,
So
like
for
the Easter eggs. Yeah.
So for Nomus, it was Grace disappeared and I woke up with a wooden dagger. And Grace was I feel like a pretty integral part of season 1.
Yep.
And I didn't know when I was building Nomus that Grace would have that big of a part or know like the significance of the wooden dagger. So yeah, just giving you that ammo. It's fun seeing you take it and run with it.
And I absolutely love it when they give me that ammo because, like, there's a big thing that's going to be happening in season 3, all due because Brian put in, he got a wooden dagger in his backstory. Like, I had no idea what I was going to do with it at first. And then I was like, oh, that's cool. And then as I was marinating, I was like, oh, I'm going to use this. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So now these wooden weapons are showing up. So Sam got a wooden bow. You guys have seen the wooden gauntlets that you got from, you didn't get it, but the
gloves, yeah.
The Harbinger's gauntlets from the Chaos live show.
Yeah.
So Ryan, you might have to re-listen to that one.
Yeah, I got a lot to re-listen to.
I think you do a really good job of inherently knowing our backstories because I feel like there's a lot of time that you'll say something and you'll stare at us and be like, it was in your backstory. And they're like, cool, let's just pause for 5 minutes and me reread my backstory. Like, oh yeah, I did say that.
I do like to reread all of them. I also tend to have a couple of rules at my table, which I think help a lot. And one of the main rules I have is your character has to be inclined to work with people. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone loves, or not everyone, but that trope of that lone wolf or that shadowy rogue character. Those are fun in like video games, but it doesn't work in D&D that well. And the reason I don't like it is because, yes, you might be in your mind space role-playing amazingly, but you're going to be forcing somebody else to come up with a reason that they would cooperate with this person. So you're like taking them out of the role playing, the involvement in the world. So I kind of hold my characters to like, hey, you need to be somebody that works well with others, or at least is motivated to work with people.
I think also you force us to have a flaw. And so during our character development, we always try to like, what's our flaw? What's our downside? And like for Woods, it's snacking, right? Like sometimes we've seen in this, like she's made bad decisions because she was so hungry, or like she's slows things down because she needs a snack. And before this campaign, we played another campaign and one of my characters was afraid of water, like deathly afraid of water. So I played an entire session for 3 hours, basically unconscious because we had to be on a boat and I couldn't handle it. And like, so I think he does a good job of like making us play characters that aren't perfect, even though sometimes it may seem like, oh, you're turning into deities and doing all this stuff. Like we have flaws and like you push that, which I think is just more fun.
I also think it's fun to think about the motivation. So Sam mentioned this on the backstory build up. I have them tell me like what their goals are, like what is driving your character. Like, I don't care what their deeds are. Yeah, I can use that ammunition, but their character is what you can use a lot more because you can put them in fun situations, like, you know, like throw a burning building out there. Like, is that person going to risk going into the fire to get somebody, or are they going to go get help? Like, where are their motivations at is a lot more enjoyable to play with.
Yeah, like Kincaid and Captain Brandon, like you were going to do anything to save Captain Brandon. Like, it's like you owed him a debt.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, let's go back to Sue. She's got a second question.
Hi, this is Sue. I am calling in regards to the questions for D&D. This one is for, and I have called earlier, but this one came to light, and I'm a little curious about it. I was listening to Woods the other day and talking about the pirates and all that stuff, but he had made some affirmations that I thought were quite insightful. And I was just curious, did she find that written somewhere in some books? Is that a D&D process, or is that something she just made up at the time? It was very insightful, as I said, and I'm calling them affirmations for the character of Wood. I would like to know how she came about that. Thank you. Bye-bye. again, enjoying the podcast very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sue, you are the cutest listener I've officially dubbed. Yeah, I made it all up. So no, like I just did. I'm actually looking at my notebook that I like keep as we play. Sometimes I'm like writing notes, and I kind of feel bad because during those episodes I wasn't really paying attention to what the other guys were doing at the table because I was so focused on what I was going to say because I knew I had to convince Mike to let me do this. And I knew both other players at the table were like, okay, this isn't gonna work out. So if I failed at it, I knew I was gonna let the people down at the table because I wasn't doing actions, right? And I had to really convince Mike. And then my goal, when I first originally started the character, I wanted to play a Ranger Paladin multi-class at some point, which is a really difficult thing to do because just the D&D stats don't match up. But I was like, I'm going to do it. So I needed to figure out how to bridge that. And I felt like, hey, if I come out and pledge myself, make this my Paladin pledge, then maybe I can that's what my character can kind of turn into. So yeah, I was just drawing on some stuff from the backstory, and Mike had given us a little yin yang with all of the gods and stuff. So I was just pulling off of that and just trying to be a little creative and think that if I personally was in this dire situation and I was like waiting for a miracle, what are the things that I would say? Like what pleading down on my knees, crawling in the Phantom Shrine in Portugal, what are the things that I would say? And so that's kind of, I don't know what I came up with.
And I think it's awesome that you did that because I think when you were doing that, you knew the situation was critical, that you really needed that form to bail us out. So I think you being withdrawn from the story just made it more believable of I don't know what's going on and this is what I need to do as my character.
Yeah.
To make it happen. And I remember when you were reading it, Mike and I locked eyes a couple of times and he was nodding oh yeah. And I remember him jotting something down. So I was like, she's getting a plus for something doing this. So.
Surprisingly, I didn't get inspiration, but whatever.
You got to roll 3 dice.
I know, I was
extra
I think
dice.
at one point I rolled 4 dice. You were just letting me go.
Well, you kept coming up with good things. So I definitely was going to have you just go down to 1.
Yeah.
Because you were trying to fight while doing it. And I was like, she's distracted. Then you kept coming up with these things, obviously showing that Woods was trying not to be distracted. So well, okay, roll 3 dice,
Well, and I think too, it shows how much trust that she has in the other two, in Kincaid and Vaso, because especially the first couple of times, I was just sitting there and you're in Vaso's dad's house. I'm sitting cross-legged, just assuming you guys are going to protect me. You know what I mean? So I think it's a big trust
got
thing.
my arm cut off.
Yeah.
That's how dedicated he was to
I know, but I saved us. I saved
you
us.
did.
Yeah, no, I just remember whenever you're doing that, you're just writing stuff down, you're in the zone, just and then you read it out loud and it's you just made that up on the spot. That's pretty impressive.
It was cool. It's my favorite part of D&D is the improv. It's my absolute favorite. It's just creating stuff on the spot and forcing your brain. And actually I'm in sales outside, so it really is an exercise almost for my brain because then I'm just so much better thinking on my feet outside of the table. So I really like it.
All right, this one is a off-air question, so it's read by me. Have you thought about moving the random encounter rolls to being done off-air so a listener doesn't know that the event is random? So what are our thoughts on that? I originally had it kept in because I wanted to highlight how you can play D&D. The Dungeon Master is not the one that needs to drive the story. So that's kind of what I liked about having the roles in there and showing the players coming up with elements to bring into it. But now that we've highlighted that, do we want to remove that part of it so the listener doesn't know that it's a random encounter?
I mean, I think removing it would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because I can see it from a listener's point of view of if we're all sitting around the table and we know this is going to happen this time of day, this, it's going to be good or bad. The listener already knows no matter what we come up with, it's got to be a bad situation. So I think if we remove that element of predetermining for the listener that it's going to be good or bad, it's just more of a continuation of a side story.
Yeah.
Like I think we did a random encounter where we met the 2 traveling beer salesmen.
Oh yeah,
yep.
That's
That
fun.
could have turned bad really quickly, and that would have kind of been a fun twist if they would have known, wouldn't have known it was a good encounter.
Good encounter.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, I think we like move it to a more like silent mechanic.
Yeah, we'll still do it at the table, but maybe edit that part out so the
Yeah.
listener doesn't hear it. From a dungeon master, though, that is one of the favorite things I've added to our table. We started adding it when we started recording, and so many fun elements have came out from it, such as we talked about it earlier. Like, I had no intention for you guys to run into Nomus's traveling troupe until you guys brought it up, and I was like, they'd be on this boat, you know, like. So that was a complete not planned by me, and it was like, oh, this worked out really well, and then it ended up causing downstream cascading things through the story. Like, I love being able to have my players have an avenue to like do that type of stuff.
Yeah, so I think keep that aspect, but we'll edit that part out, and then once we figure out like a good bad situation, what it is, we'll play it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could work.
All right,
that could be fun.
I'm on board.
All right, we're going to have another question. Have I played one from Madison yet? I don't think so. So this is a Madison's question.
Hey, Carriage Rest Tales. This is your friend, Madison. I just had a few questions, and of course, I can't think of them all right now. I'll probably call back later. But I know one question is for Mike. Mike, do you just do all of this impromptu, or how much practice and preparation do you have to do per episode? Or is it one episode you do a ton of work and then you just give up and then it's full impromptu? I'm so curious. And I have another question. Are we ever going to figure out the best way for Woods to be able to channel her inner goddess that's not like more than 10 seconds? Because that would be a mega episode. But I don't want it to take forever. I would love to know that answer. So when I have more questions, I'll give you more calls. Have a good day. Bye.
All right, so when it comes...
I love Madison. I mean, I love everyone that called in, but I particularly love Madison.
If you recognize Madison's voice, she did a one-shot with us where they were playing... she was a pirate, I think it was. When it comes to DMing, you want to avoid what's called railroading, which is you are just basically telling a story and the players are coming along for the ride. The way that happens is when you're over-planning. So it's a weird skill to have because you're the one telling the story, but I am not the one telling the story. So when I come up with my D&D planning, I come up with a goal that I want the players to learn. So this session, I want them to learn that Woods is wanted by the Night Circle. That was my goal for the Stringham episode. And then from there, I just let the dice fall as they may, and then when an opportunity comes up, I'll stamp at that. So in that fight in particular, there was somebody, Woods jumped up on top of a building and was like firing arrows down. So she put herself in like this very predominant spot. So it's like, oh, I'm going to have one of the pirates have a wanted poster looking at Woods, looking at this picture and kind of seeing the resemblance. So like that's the way that goal came about. But that's what I love about D&D as the dungeon master. I just have these high level points and I let the players kind of fill in everything else for me on those details.
Which is so fun to play, coming from somebody who, when they DM, I really struggle with railroading because as much as I love being on the spot as a player, like when I start to build my own story, it's like so hard. I want everyone to kind of come along, and I've thought it out so much. So I struggle as a DM, and I don't like doing it. So it's really cool that Mike is so good at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As far as my question, Madison, I would love it. I would love it if I didn't have to profess my love to my goddess for 17 turns in a row and roll dice to get them to match and come up with fun things to say. So I think that in season 3, now that I'm going to multi-class into a paladin, I think we'll come up with some sort of mechanic that if I'm going to be allowed to harness my deity moving forward, we'll figure out what that looks like. But because yes, it becomes a little cumbersome.
So with that, and a little bit of foreshadowing in that as well, you have to remember that the deities have a lot of power, a lot of abilities, and they have basically a lot of energy. And Woods is a mortal being. So if they try to pour all their energy in, there's going to have to be some payoff or trade.
Yeah, basically, I'm just going to be immortal is what Mike's trying to tell you. So just look for me.
You're just going to turn into a goddess.
I'm just going to be a goddess. It's fine. It's cool. It's whatever. I mean, someone got to do it, so I'll do it.
Well, we're going to continue on the Woods train.
Oh, golly.
And Shannon has a question.
Oh, I also love Shannon.
Hey, it's Shannon, longtime listener, first-time caller. And my question for the pod is, are we going to get a backstory on Woods? We got a little bit of that whole seeing her twin when she was really young. We got a backstory with Vaso and having Clyde and his mother. We have backstory on Nomis, a little bit with Kincaid. I want to hear more about Woods. So that's my question. Thanks. Bye.
I mean, yeah, I have a really fun backstory. I'm in for it. I mean, really, I'm in for it. I think there's a couple of times over the seasons where, especially when her and Bonnie were talking, Woods is a little protective over her backstory. And I think that is because she's really confused on why. I think at the beginning she was really confused on why she was there. But now as she really has drawn this connection with Lucha, she's starting to understand a little bit more. But I'm up for it if the DM wants to do it.
Yep. I actually had a couple of things planned for Sam's backstory in the episode where they fell into the river by Carhang and they got swept downstream. They had a choice to make, and it was a 3-day walk to Vasa's hometown, or was a 2-day boat ride to Woods' hometown. I had planned both scenarios, so I have stuff already kind of set aside for if they end up at Woods' place, but I'm never going to force that. And that's where kind of that same concept we're talking about with not railroading. Like, I have ideas. I'm just going to leave them there. If they don't use it, it's not the end of the world. I can recycle that same material later. Like, I don't throw things away. I can just use it if they ever decide to go to Woods. I'll have something prepared already.
I think Woods will have to really, and myself, have to really think about how she's going to interact with her backstory and with her family and everything there, because she has really focused forward, I think. So I think I'll have to think about that if we get to that in this season, which I hope we do, because it's I think my backstory was good.
Right. Oh, we're definitely going to your hometown.
Oh, we're gonna go now.
We're going now.
Now we're going. All right.
Shannon motivated me.
Yes.
We're going.
Well, fine. Let's go. We got really great snacks there.
That's what we're doing. That's the plan of action.
That's just a season. Season 3.
That's season 3. Go to Woods' home.
Del Rey Sanctuary.
All righty. Walter had texted me this one today, so I didn't get a recording of it. But the question is for really Nick. Over the course of the podcast, we have seen one-shot episodes led by Ryan and by Sam. So, Nick, have you ever had the itch to run a one-shot as a dungeon master?
So I have never DM'd. I don't know. I might try it one time in the future.
I mean, I would like to be at that table when you DM 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I know nothing about it. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to it.
If you ever decide I will, maybe I won't play and I can just be your little man behind the chair or whatever.
Yeah,
you can just sit behind the curtain.
Literally stand
behind the curtain.
That's what you do. They have really cool ones that they're actually like pre-done where you can just like read the story and take your own spin on it if you wanted to. You're such a good player. I'm not saying you wouldn't be a good DM, but you're really just such a good player.
Yeah, I just go along and,
I'd rather play than DM. What about you?
Always a player, never a DM.
Yeah. Ryan's DMing something right now with Shannon, one of the callers that just called in. Me, Mike, and Shannon. Mike gets to play. What are your...
I like DMing, but I'm more of I want to tell a story through it.
Yeah.
So mine is definitely very, I guess, linear, where it's like for Mike, your example of like, I gave you the decision if I wanted you to go to Vaso's hometown or Woods' hometown. I would have been like, I have something really cool planned at Woods' hometown. So I'm going to plant the seed, like, maybe you should go to Woods' hometown. So I don't know. I need to do better about being more not railroading and let things happen. But I have a story I want to tell. And that's how I DM.
It's weird to let go of stories. And I always, when people talk to me about D&D, I always like, I like D&D because I'm a bad storyteller. And they're like, but you run the game. I'm like, yes. And as Sam is going to attest to this, when I tell a story, I am always focused on the wrong details. I spend too much time over here.
Yeah.
Like, I am not linear in my thought process and stories. So D&D works great for me because I'm like, I'll just have highlights.
Yeah.
And then let them tell the story. So
My favorite of Mike, like real life, he'll be telling a story and then he realizes he's lost in his own story. And I get these eyes
Like,
sent
save
over,
me.
like, help, save me. And I'm like, yeah, so, and then I just take over and I literally watch his body relax. He goes, okay, like his shoulders relax. And it probably looks like I'm like railroading my own husband and like taking over his stories. But really the physical cues that he's giving me, he like starts to sweat. I'm like, I got you. I'm coming in.
all right, we got another question from Anne.
What was it like at the convention? Did you kind of feel a little bit famous? What was that like? And who is going to do the voice for the introduction next season? And have you decided what accent you're going to use yet?
Did you feel famous at Gen Con?
No.
I mean,
Maybe.
we should have because
Yeah.
12 of us went in wearing like matching shirts and handing out all this swag. Like, hey, check out our podcast. Check out our podcast. We're doing a live podcast, and I don't know.
I think there was 200. There's 500 people walking around Gen Con with our like paper fans that had all of our information and stuff on it. We were handing out koozies and a bunch of stuff. So Gen Con was really cool. It was a really cool immersive experience. It was a lot. It was exhausting. We got to play with some fun people. The cool thing, I think, a couple of times, we ran into like random people again. They're like, "Oh, hey, and they like would pick up their lanyard or something like that. Like that was fun, but not quite famous yet.
The live show is nerve-wracking for sure,
Yeah.
at least for me. But yeah, Mike definitely good job.
Yeah, you did a great job with that.
The live show was a lot of fun. I loved planning for the live show. I did feel bad that it was so puzzle orientated because you guys don't like puzzles, but I was like, I wanted something to engage with the crowd.
Yeah, and you got audience members like
to come up and actually play. That was a lot of fun. I was excited to see like people actually see how they would react to like coming up.
That was fun.
So I really enjoyed how it all ended up working. And the stories, I still got to tell a little bit of the background in the story, so that's kind of fun. So let's do a couple of more.
Wait, she had a second part.
It was the intro.
Oh, yeah.
So I think before we started the questions, I think we determined that yours truly would be doing the intro for season 3, but I don't want to give away the theme or how we're going to do it. So
are you going to use an accent?
But we'll see. We might have to do several takes.
TBD.
TBD.
Yeah.
Well, we can take several takes. That's the power of editing.
That would mean Sir Nicholas has got season 4 on
Season
lock.
4.
So it'll be all about my backstory, but you can do the intro.
There you go.
It's like, the season's about this really annoying girl named Woods.
So funny.
All right, I think we've answered this question, but let's hear what Brandon's second question was.
This is Brandon from Chicago calling in again with a multi-part question, I guess, for the DM. How long did it take you to come up with the storyline? Did you come up with it all at once, or is it you came up with the premise and as the story has progressed, you come up with the next portion of the adventure? And if so, where do you, I guess, come up with the idea for where to go and draw your inspiration from for the storyline?
All right, so this campaign, I started writing it probably about 6 months before we started playing, like as a general outline. But for the most part, it is just a general outline. So Sam kind of alluded to this at the beginning. When I start designing a campaign, I usually start with the world. So I'll make a world map, and then I'll come up with, hey, where would the cities be in this map? What would their exports be? And this all kind of boils down to what is everyone's intentions. So to me, it's a lot easier to plan things if I have an idea of, everybody in this city is going to be more focused around fishing. Like that's the primary culture. So it's easier for me to be like, what types of things would go on in that situation? And then when my players throw random stuff at me, I have a basis to improv off of. So this one, I started playing about 6 months before, but it changes constantly until we record. Actually, for Sam can attest to this, I get like a huge nervous wreck about a week before we record. Like, it's the worst time of my life.
Oh my God, it's awful to
I'm
live
just
with.
Constantly second guessing, like, does this make sense? Do I need to change this? Is this mechanic broken?
Yeah.
Like, but then once we actually start recording, it's just like all that stress melts away. And I'm like, well, what's done is done. Like, we're just moving forward now. And for the most part, we haven't had too many inconsistencies, which has worked out really well.
So, fun fact, which we haven't shared with anyone yet, this original storyline was supposed to have like electricity and like flying planes and like set kind of more in the future, or like now not set in like high fae, like, or like high lore D&D, like medieval times.
It's supposed to be more like a steampunk.
Yeah, it was supposed to be more like a steampunk kind of thing. And like Mike was just like, this was his idea. He was so excited about it. And us as players, we were like, we don't want to do that.
I don't think it's that we didn't want to do it. I think for our first attempt at a podcast, we wanted something more traditional that we thought could relate to
More
listeners
people,
more, like they would get it. I would totally be up for your steampunk. I think it was a cool idea, but I think we just let's do something more traditional to start, and then we can move into something more off token for a D&D
Yeah. So we had
campaign.
we didn't fight him on it. We had just a lot of conversations, and I think we made the right call. I think especially when I look at how nervous we were when we did the practice campaign.
Oh yeah.
Or if you guys haven't listened to the practice campaign, it's on our website. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. I mean, it's like good and fun, but like there are multiple episodes where there's one episode I talk the entire time. I talk more than everyone combined because no one else was talking. Then there's episodes where we're all just talking over each other. We've gotten so much better at like sharing the table.
My favorite was, since we built the studio in the house, Sam and I have a tendency to always bring people up here, like when people come over for dinner, just sit and chat. And one of my coworkers came over with his husband, and we came up here and we were just chatting around. They loved it. And Sam was like, oh, you should listen to like some of it, just so what you think. So I played one of our episodes. She's like, why'd you play that one? That was horrible.
It was so bad.
And I was like, that's what it was when we started.
I know.
Like, we're so much better now just because we got used to being around the equipment.
For sure.
So if you are missing us in this little gap era, and you haven't listened, it's 13 episodes, 17 episodes?
13 episodes.
13 episode practice campaign on our website. It's not bad. It's funny.
Yeah.
There's definitely some good stuff on it. We get all the kinks out, which I do think was really great for us as starting as a podcast, was to have that time to make those mistakes and figure out audio. And now even in season 2, we have music and sound effects, and Mike keeps going back and forth. I think I'm going to go re-edit every episode in season 1 and add music. And like, that is so much work.
That's a huge undertaking. Yeah.
I just feel like it'd be so much better.
Well,
yeah, I know. Then everyone can re-listen to it again. We can call it Mike's version.
Yeah, remix.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, re-edit.
All my T-Swift fans just totally got that.
Let's do 2 more questions. We got a question from Anne.
What would you say is the biggest similarity that you have with your character? And also, where do you think your personality is the most different from your character?
Well, my guy is definitely introverted, like myself. Yeah, I mean, he's got that, that loyalty to, the order type mentality. So, I feel like I kind of fall under that. As far as differ, well, I got 2 hands.
You're a full human and not a quarter human.
Quarter orc.
I don't know.
I think that you're more like trustworthy of your friends in real life.
Yeah.
Like you're not a skeptical person.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
And I feel like Vasso's jaded. He's skeptical.
He's got skepticism.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I know, that's just my take.
Yeah. I agree with that.
You have 2 characters, so I guess you can pick
I know.
one.
Well, I think Nomis obviously shares my love for music, but I have like no musical talent. And I think that probably comes through when I try to sing or act like I'm playing an instrument. But it's also fun because I'm trying to play Nomis as this like eyes on me, let's be showy, let me get your attention, entertain you. And apart from me trying to make horrible jokes and puns, I typically don't like all eyes on me that much in a public setting. So it's fun to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and play a character that's kind of the opposite of me in some ways.
I think season 3, Noma/Vibe, is going to be a mirror like you because you have multiple personalities.
Ooh.
You think I have multiple personalities now? Shut up,
I'm
Nick.
kidding.
How dare you?
Well, I mean, we're definitely similar.
You and Woods?
Me and Woods, I think. I mean, just the things we like to do. Like, I like to work out. I like to snack.
I think you are Woods.
I think I am. I think I'm just playing myself. It is.
I'm going to say one difference.
Yeah, go for it.
Woods can shoot a bow.
Okay, easy. If I practiced, I'm sure I could throw a kitchen knife. If I practice, I mean, Woods can't cook and I can cook.
You're an amazing cook, so you do different.
Thank you. That was so sweet of you. I think personality-wise, I don't think I'm as intense as Woods is. I don't think I would, as much as like Vaso and Woods fight, I don't really like.
Yeah.
I'm not aggressive. I try not to. I don't get into it with people. I might like behind closed doors, like vent about it or things like that. But I think Woods is a more amped up version of me for sure.
All right. So for our last question, it was texted to me today. So again, we don't have audio, but it's from Alex. If you had to describe D&D and what it means to you, what would you say? Alex is from Salt Lake, my hometown.
Oh, nice.
One of my oldest friends.
Oh, fun.
You had to describe D&D and what it means to you, what would you say?
I mean, it's almost like an escape. Like sometimes you go like watch TV or play video games to like escape life for a little bit. But I think with D&D, it's different because you're actually sitting at a table with some of your closest friends, interacting with each other. So it's nice to like detach from the world a little bit, but you also detach from your electronics, which it's hard to do nowadays. So it's fun to like actually sit at a table, talk, make jokes, laugh, and try to figure out things together and not rely on, technology to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I just love hanging out with you guys. And, it's always fun to like make jokes and laugh together. And we get to do that during D&D. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
So.
We do it a lot too. So it's also a good stress relief, like to come here and like, okay, let's just laugh.
For 2 hours, you don't have anything to worry about.
You don't have to think about anything. And it's awesome.
I think that it is such a safe space, and this like notion of play and like vulnerability, which outside of the studio or outside of your D&D table, you just don't get that. I think so many people are so concerned about what other people think of them or just putting their highlight reel up on Instagram or things like that, that they think it would be silly and stupid to sit around a table and play make-believe, right? But it's so funny. Over the last 6 years been playing, and then the more we have the podcast and the more of my friends that are like, hey, will you teach me how to play D&D? Like, I just recently, one of my grad school friends texted me, was like, hey, I have a question. Will you teach me how to play D&D? And I'm like, heck yeah, man. Like, so I love the idea that it's just a space just to be like a kid and like just play and like exercise creative muscles in our brains that society really doesn't want us to do.
Interesting.
That's my take.
Similar to my take is D&D to me is a very creative process. So it allows me that opportunity to flex a different part of my brain that I don't use as often. So it's awesome to just be able to share that experience though also. Because I love a good story. That's why I like movies, anime, reading books. Like I love a story, and it's fun to be able to make a story with your friends. So I think that's what I like most about it is the storytelling aspect. I'm sure people have noticed because you don't do nearly as much combat as a normal D&D table.
Combat's hard to listen to.
Yeah.
It's hard to run.
Yeah.
I shoot a bow. Again.
Well, that is it for our questions. If you guys do have further questions, make sure to email them to me at our email address, which is podcast@carriageresttales.com. You can find that on our website as well, or you can jump in the Discord, ask any questions you want. I can answer them on Discord, or we can do another mailbag episode like this.
Yeah, or feel free to hit us up on Instagram at Carriage Rest Tales D&D. You can DM us directly. I think I like ending/starting the new season like this. So I think this will be a staple in things that we do.
Yeah, thank you all for your questions and listening to us and supporting us.
I definitely
means
love
a
our
lot.
listeners.
Yeah, y'all are awesome.
It's so wild. I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but we sit here and we feel like it's just the four of us, but it's not. It's all of you guys that listen, and even, the bunch of you that we don't know, you know what I mean? Like, you're just out there and you're listening, and we really appreciate it. So keep listening. We'll keep trying to entertain, and we can just all play together.
I think with that, we'll play the last little snippet from Anne. It wasn't a question.
And I want to say that I enjoy listening to your show so much. I feel like I'm at the table with you. And it's just, I look forward to every single episode. So I just want to say thank you. I know it's a lot of work. And, you've got fans. So good job. You guys are killing it.
I might cry. Anne, I love you.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you to all of our listeners.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Looks like the Bard has done it again. What a splendid crowd y'all have been. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Carriage Rest Inn.
Hey guys, it's Mike, your host and Dungeon Master at Carriage Rest Tales. I just want to say thanks for taking the time to listen to our podcast. It really means a lot to us. If you are enjoying the content and you haven't already, please give us a 5-star review. It's really going to help us grow our listenership and be able to reach more people. I also want to give a special thanks to Tabletop Audio for providing the background music for today's episode.